Hi everyone, it's Clyde at Vibrant Soap, and today I'm not making soap again, I'm making croissants. And I've got a lot of things to do, but I think I have to do things that really make me happy, and baking really makes me happy. Only thing is, really shouldn't be eating all these simple carbs and butters and sugars and things like that, but once in a while, you gotta make yourself happy, right? And I'm not gonna be eating all these at once anyway. I am putting some in the freezer so that once in a while I can dip into that stash and have a nice croissant, and all you have to do is put it in a hot oven for a couple minutes and it crisps out the outside and it's almost as yummy as it was out of the oven in the first place. So let me show you what I did this time. I've made it before, but I did some research and found some easier recipes and watched one thing in particular, and that's how to get all the layers in the croissant. So I'll leave a link to that as well, and let's get started right away. Just adding some warm water to a bowl. I'm going to combine my yeast to this. Let it set for 5 minutes. There's my sugar with the yeast. And I'm going to take a fork and blend that up, trying to break up all those clumps. I want to get all that yeast mixed with the water so it all activates. Let that sit for about 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to sift together my bread flour and my all-purpose flour. The bread flour has a higher protein percentage, and that helps build strong gluten and make it more stretchy, but the all-purpose flour adds a little softness to the dough. There's my sugar and some salt. I'll mix that up well. Okay, I'm ready to turn that into my bowl from my blender. You can see my dough hook right there, ready to mix that up. There's the yeast, all activated and bubbly. Let's put that into the flour mixture. Some more milk. And some melted butter. I'm only going to mix this with the dough attachment just for a short while. I'm going to do the rest by hand. A little flour on my surface. I'm glad to have this granite surface. It keeps the dough cool. Turning out that dough. Just kneading that until it comes together, and I'm going to test the elasticity by stretching it in a moment. This is the fun part. See, it's getting really elastic, but it breaks a little too soon, so I'm going to knead a little bit more and then put it in a buttered bowl. In the meantime, I blended up some flour and some butter just to make it a little more workable, and I'm going to flatten that up in this parchment paper. I really like this method, and this is why I picked this particular recipe, is it made it much more easy to prepare this block of butter. I've already measured out the square that I wanted this butter to be. So once I pat it in there, I can fold this paper up and then roll it, and it fits really neatly into the corners. Oops, missed the spot right there, so I can roll that a little bit better, get that better in that corner. And it's all perfect now. And that's going to go into the refrigerator to chill, get nice and firm. And I'm going to roll this out. With my hands, I'm going to start to put this in a little bit of a rectangular shape before I start rolling it. You can see me pat away the excess flour. Don't want too much extra flour in the dough to make it more tough. And just roll that out. And let the dough rest between rollings. It makes it a little easier to roll out. Otherwise it wants to retain its shape. Have my ruler next to me all the time. I want about a 16 by 8 rectangle. And there's my flat of butter. I made some diagrams to show you how I folded this. I prefer this method because it seems like you're able to keep track of the layers a little bit better. So the butter occupies about 2/3 of that whole space. And I'm folding the dough over half of the butter. So it's about 1/3. I'm going to put a little indentation to help me fold it. So now the whole thing's covered. Pounding it down this way helps to spread the butter evenly without it clumping on one side when you just roll it. And it's still cool enough that I can do another step of folding this into thirds. Now I have 6 layers. I let it chill a little bit, took it back out. I let it set for about an hour. Rolling it back into that flat rectangle. Then I'm going to repeat that folding process into thirds. Now those 6 layers become 18. Back into the refrigerator. Preparing to do the same step one more time. And do your math right, you should have 54 layers of butter. So I'm going to wrap that up, and this time it's going to go into the refrigerator overnight. And I'll be able to make croissants in the morning. So now it's early in the morning. The dough is nice and puffy. It's more easy to work with half the dough, so I'm going to just cut this in half, put one half in the refrigerator while I work with the other half. Look at those layers. You press the dough and it doesn't puff back out, then the dough is perfect. I'm going to make a combination of croissants and pain au chocolat. Shouldn't really do too much of that sideways rolling. You don't want to push all that butter out, but I do want a width of about 8 inches. And I'm measuring the bottom of that long side to about 4.5 inches. I have an extra strip on the end I'm going to cut off, and I can make that into my chocolate version of the croissant. Pizza cutter is an easier way to cut these. And then diagonally, I'm going to cut these to make my triangles. That little notch I didn't quite understand until I did this, and it helps you to pull that to the side when you roll up these into the croissant shapes, and it makes the arms of the croissant a little longer and more classic. And stretch the dough before I roll it. That lets you have more turns to that. You get more of that great shape, more layers. I'm just going to repeat that process until all my croissants are made. Curving it around. You can see the arms are nice and long, and that's because of that little cut on the bottom of the triangle. That last square I'm going to use to make my pain au chocolat. Classically, you put 2 bars of chocolate in it. You think you need more chocolate, and I really love chocolate, but the mix of the croissant taste and the chocolate is just really perfect this way. Made an egg wash with 1 egg and 1 tablespoonful of water, and I'm going to just mix that up a bit. I'm going to paint my first layer of this on my freshly rolled croissants. I'm going to let this rise, and I'm going to paint another layer of this on there. And lightly cover this. I don't want it to stick to the pastries. This is my second piece I took out of the refrigerator, and more of these are going to become my pain au chocolat. Dough is perfect. I'm cutting this to the width of the chocolate bars that I've cut up. This is about a 51% chocolate cacao content. You get any higher than that, and the chocolate's going to melt out of the sides, and this worked out perfectly. Forgot to stretch that out. So I'll do this until they're all done. Then all these are going to get their second brushing of the egg mixture. They're going to go in a hot oven, 400 degrees. And there they are. I think I cooked these for about 25 minutes. I knocked on them, they sound really hollow to the touch, so it looks perfect at that time. The kitchen smells great. Love the sound of this when you cut it. I want to see all those layers. Beautiful. It smells so awesome. Hate to do this, but I'm going to taste that crust right out of the oven. Though you should really let these cool down before you serve them. So my favorite croissant of all time was when we visited the town of Honfleur in France, and it was so delicious. So I'm hoping that this comes even halfway close to that. So here's a little bit of the crunchy outside, and it's so good. I'll show you how the layers happen, little air pockets. It's really chewy. I wish I could share this with everybody. It doesn't even need any butter because it's full of butter, but I think a little bit of preserves on this would just really set it off. Make some sandwiches with it, or just, I would just eat these like they are right now. So thanks for watching, and try to do some more cooking videos. I know people have requested that. And in the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy this. Bye everybody.